because she loved it so much. And with one company, the entire career, and impacted my life in such a profound way that I'm so thrilled for each and every single one of you that you are sitting here today and your futures are so incredibly bright because I have had a front row seat to what this industry can do. So congratulations. Now, my name is James Laurence, and the public calls me the Ironcowboy. And it's a stupid nickname because I'm allergic to horses and hay. But I am in racing. It's the least friendly spectator sport on the planet. And when I first started racing, I had those 5 little children. And they would often miss me on the race course because we kind of blended in and we were focused on what we were doing. So one of my daughters, she says, "Dad, you should wear a cowboy hat and we'll see you coming down the road." And so I started to wear this cowboy hat, and then the public started to call me the Ironcowboy. And it's just been an unbelievable kind of trademark, and we've had a lot of fun with it. But I actually grew up here in the United States. I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. 3 of you, thank you. All right, there we go. Now, does anybody here know what Calgary might be world famous for? Stampede, my guy. All right, Calgary Stampede. For those of you that don't know, the Calgary Stampede is one of the largest rodeos in the entire world. It is 10 days long. The city shuts down, and it is a huge party. It is rides, it's foods, it's chuck wagon races, concerts, fireworks, and I got to go to the Calgary Stampede every single year growing up. Well, I'm in my early 20s, and I am trying to figure out who I want to be. What do I want to become? What type of legacy do I want to leave? And I was listening to the radio, and they announced this contest. And they said, we want to find out who can ride the giant Ferris wheel for the entire 10 days of the Stampede. And my undeveloped brain says, this is a great idea. I should get on the ride. And so I got on the ride, and I started to go round and round. And I was 3 days into this, and I'm watching people quit and get off. And it took me years to recognize what was happening. They were losing the conversation they were having with themselves. They literally weren't comfortable sitting there in silence. And since then to now, it's gotten worse. We now live in a day and age where it's 8-second dopamine hits, right? And I also recognized that they were sitting in a space where they were worrying about a future. They hadn't forgiven themselves for the past, and they just weren't comfortable sitting there. So I'm on this Ferris wheel now, and I'm 7 days into the 10-day contest. And my mom shows up. She's on the ground to support me. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. She made me a sign. And when I got closer to the ground, I could read the sign. And this sign said this. It said, James, you got fired from your job. And so I was like, okay, I need to sit on this Ferris wheel for 3 more days because I'm now unemployed and I'm already broke. Long story short, I won the Ferris wheel contest. I hitchhiked the ride from Calgary to Utah, where I then stole my wife from Buck. And we're celebrating 25 years of marriage this year. We got 5 children. Yeah. And the best news of all, I feel, you guys, is we just became grandparents. And we got a 3-month-old boy at home or in the area. And then my second oldest daughter is going to give us twin boys in December. So, man, we are so excited. Now, what you guys just witnessed was the promo to the documentary of those 50 days, 50 Ironmans, 50 states. And it changed my life. And I didn't know speaking and this kind of thing was a real thing. Until we did that, and people were like, we have to hear the story. That's just crazy. And then I also got these other phone calls to do very difficult challenges around the world. They wanted to bring me back down, right? Isn't it interesting once we establish ourselves as something, society wants to tear you down and bring you back to their level. And I kept saying no to those because I was enjoying this new career that I was doing, helping people with the conversations they were having with themselves. And I kept saying no. And then I got this phone call from Africa, and they said, we want you to come climb our mountain. And I was like, wow, I don't climb mountains. And then they're like, no. This is Mount Kilimanjaro. This is 20,000 feet in the air. You have to come climb it. And again, I said, no, thank you. And then they said, we know you have to be the first person ever to do something that nobody else has ever done. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool to say you're one of 8 billion people. And then they said this, we want to invite you to come to Africa and ride your bike to the top. And I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Why would I do that? And then, of course, I found myself in Africa trying to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Instantly regretted this decision. There's only one way to get to the top, and it's straight up. And the higher you go, the less oxygen there is. And so now my legs are burning, my heart is pounding, lungs expanding. But we make it to base camp, 12,500 feet. And I was sitting there and I could hear a group. And they were talking about the accomplishment and the summit and the view from the top. And so I went over and I started to talk to them. And you can only imagine the emotion I had after I started to complain about how bad my leg hurt. When I looked down and I realized that she only has one leg. There's a moment where you have an absolute paradigm shift in your life and you recognize that, man, we have no idea when something's going to be taken away from us. To appreciate every single moment, whether we have a lot or we have life. I made a promise to myself in that moment I was going to wake up the following day, and regardless of the terrain, the difficulty, the altitude, the boulders, I was going to put a smile on my face, and we were going to summit Mount Kilimanjaro. And we did just that. And we were the first group to summit on bikes. And as I was standing there, trying to take in the indescribable view from 20,000 feet, looking over all of Africa, I thought back to the same group of veterans. And in that group was another gentleman. He was completely blind. He couldn't see what I was seeing. His eyesight was taken in battle. Yet he was so happy to be there because he was alive, having experiences. I've now had an opportunity to travel around the world and share this story in over 50 countries. And the number one question I get is, how do I become more mentally tough? How do I develop that same amount of persistence and resilience? It's only through showing up and having experiences that you can do that. And I found this quote and I love it. It says, there's only one time that's important. And the time has come. And it's the most important time because it's truly the only time we have any power. And if we're watching society today, everybody's so worried about the future. Anxiety. Not forgiving themselves for their past. Depression. The solution is right here, right now. Where our feet are planted. Because again, we have no idea if tomorrow's going to be guaranteed or when something's going to be taken away from us. So now, my mission in life is to say yes to everything that scares me. Say yes to everything that makes me feel uncomfortable. I look back at my entire career and it's the moments that I said yes to that have changed my life, that have shaped me into who I am today. I got a phone call and they said, James, do you want to fly an F-16 jet? And I was like, no, I don't. That sounds terrible. Now, everybody here has probably been in an airplane, know how long it goes from takeoff to 30,000 feet. I'm going to share with you guys a quick video. Take off to 20,000 feet, 7 G's of force in just 15 seconds. So we got that for 16 feet. Okay, you guys can't see my face, but I'm also this big. I am freaking out. I'm plugged into the jet. As we hit the 7 G's of force, the suit is compressing, sending blood to my brain so I don't pass out. I'm trying to learn the breathing pattern they taught me in the 15-minute tutorial I got on how to participate in this event. And man, if you can hear the pilot, it's like he's having a Sunday dinner conversation with somebody. But I tell you what, I recognize in that moment, Homeboy is the expert. And he has put in thousands of hours to be that. In fact, he was communicating with another group of experts on the ground. And together, they were collaborative and they were the experts. And it allowed me to calm down and enjoy that experience. But I quickly realized that we live in a unique day and age. There's so much good, but there's a lot of bad, and it's called social media. And I've watched my 5 children try to navigate this space. And I'm watching people fearful of doing something new for the first time, being the newest member to a community. We're scared to not be the expert on day number one. That judgment, that ridicule for not being the best. There's people in this room right now, this is your first time in this community, and there's experts. Those experts started out where you are and felt exactly how you're feeling, and it's okay. Every journey has a humble beginning. I'm embarrassed to put this on the screen. This is a picture of me, my very first ever triathlon. I'm learning how to swim. I've borrowed a bike. I'm gripping to the edge of the pool, gasping for air. I looked like an idiot wearing this nose plug. And nobody looks at this person in this moment and says, hey, that's the guy. I had broken any world records. I was the newest member of that community. But it changed my life, and I'm so glad I had the courage to start. I went home that
I know it's been business, so I don't need the power.
That's not part of my presentation. I went home that night, and on TV was the Ironman World Championships. I didn't know what this was. I heard the NBC announcer say, this is the hardest single day in sports. That got my attention. I'm like, what's the hardest day in sports? And he went on to describe that it's a 2.4-mile swim. It's followed by a 112-mile bike ride. And this finishes with a full marathon run, 26.2 miles, a total of 140.6 miles single day. I said, I just want to be one of those. That fired me up. I want to know what that feels like. And so I found my race. I did my preparation. And when I got on site and into the water, I had no idea what was going to happen next. Imagine 2,000 athletes in the water. You're the athletes. You're sitting there ready to go. And when that gun goes off, you go into the swim position, you are instantly on top of your closest competitor. You get kicked in the face, you get punched in the mouth, you get swam over top. And in fact, on that day, in that moment, I got pulled down into the water. I had to figure out how to calm myself down, rise back up to the surface, and with intentionality start to navigate that chaos. Isn't that kind of like life we're experiencing right now, like chaos all around us? It's now how you choose to navigate through that chaos, those moments. I got out of the water. I'm so grateful. I found my bike. I started the bike. Going down the road, having so much fun, going as fast as I can. I had an experience at mile 80. As I was riding, I had a visitor come out and try to talk to me. The visitor was the bully inside my head. And he started to tell me how difficult the journey has been. How everybody else around me is better than I am. How much more difficult that journey is going to be. And in life, we listen to that bully inside of our head. We give it power. Life is about managing those moments, those bully conversations. In fact, early in my career, I was trying to silence the bully completely. I never wanted to hear from him again. Over time, my relationship has changed with the bully inside my head. He's my buddy now. If I haven't heard from the bully inside my head in a long enough period of time, it means I'm not showing up in my life. I'm not trying to have impact. I'm not trying to increase the value of everybody else around me. It's about learning how to manage that conversation, win those moments, and continue down the course. I won that moment, and I got to find my shoes, and I got to run that marathon, and I got to hear the words, you are an Ironman. And that changed my life. And I'm going to assume, this is an assumption, but I'm going to assume 99% of the people here are saying, why does anybody do this on purpose? If this is the result, what are we doing? Well, I am here confidently to tell you today it's not this moment. It's this one. And in this moment, everything goes away. The pain, the sacrifice, the energy, it all becomes worth it. I wanted to have that experience as often as I could. So I set out on a very unique journey to break 2 world records. Most half Ironmans anybody's ever done in a year. And then followed that up to tackle the full Ironman world record. The record at the time was 20 Ironmans. And I looked at my ability, my belief system, my thought process, my team, and I said, we can do 30 Ironmans through 11 countries. And we boldly made that announcement. The public came back and they said, if you just did 21, it would be a new world record. And I was like, yeah, but there's the problem. We're so busy comparing ourselves to the current standard of excellence that we're actually limiting ourselves as to what is possible. I believed 30 was the new standard. I'm not trying to break records. I'm trying to set new standards. And just like any member of any new community, the world record community, I was new. I really didn't know what I was up against. Sometimes being naive about the process is a good thing. We set out on that journey, and I knew I was going to learn along the way. I was in Marble Falls, Texas, and the condition, two Texans, and the conditions were perfect. And so I jumped in the water, I swam the 2.4 miles, and when I got out, my buddy Tyrell was there. And he was cheering, he was yelling, he was going crazy, and I couldn't figure it out. As I got closer to him, he said this, he said, James, the leaders of the race, they just left. Grab your bike, go catch them. You could win today. And I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to win today. I got to do an Ironman next weekend. And he said this, just imagine how much your kids will love you if you win. And I'm like, they're six. They want a Snickers bar. That's it. But he said it. He said the words, just imagine. Now, when in our adult lives did we stop imagining? Think of your friends, your peers, your relatives, your family members. How many of them wake up every single day super fired up, ready to tackle the day? Versus how many of them show up every single day angry, annoyed, looking for excuses, checking the boxes. I guarantee it's that one over the initial one. And I didn't want to be part of that. So I got all fired up in that moment. I grabbed my bike. I passed an athlete. I passed another one. I took over the lead of this race. And I thought to myself, dude, I could pass this motorcycle too. I couldn't get him though, but we had a massive, huge lead. But at mile 100, I got the most intense cramp I've ever gotten in my life. It was my quad. I grabbed it, locked it, wouldn't let go. I couldn't turn the pedals over. Guess who showed up? The bully inside my head. And he said, I told you you're not good enough. You don't deserve to be here. You're not a winner. You're not a champion. You're a loser. Quit. Go home. And in life, we listen to that bully inside of our head. We abandon the course. I heard another voice on that day. It was quiet. And it said, James, bro, you've got one good leg. It's just 12 more miles to bike. It's only a marathon to run. Let's go. And I was like, dude's a genius. I've got options. That other voice was my intuition. We have forgotten how to dream. And we stopped listening to our intuition because we're so busy listening to the coaches, the mentors, and individuals on social media that believe they're the experts. I challenge you to get back to training. Get back to listening to you and allow that to be your compass and your guidance. I won that conversation with the bully inside my head. I got back on my bike. I turned the pedals over one leg at a time. I got to Tyrell. He was so excited he realized I was winning the race. I grabbed my cowboy hat and I started to run. I yelled back at him, I may need medical help. But I was putting one foot in front of the other. I fight. I make it to mile 17, but at mile 17, every single muscle in my body contracts at the same time. I go stiff like a board and hit the ground. Tyrell sees me go down. He sprints over to me. He's on the phone. He's like, James, don't worry about a thing. I've got great news. I'm thinking to myself, great news. I'm dying. Medical's on its way. She says, no, it's your wife. She's on the phone. She wants to talk to you. I panicked. I don't want to talk to Sunny. She's going to tell me to get up. I can't. I mustered up the courage to look Tyrell in the face and I said, hey, tell her no thank you. That didn't go very well. He comes back moments later, he's still on the phone. He says, James, I'm so sorry. It's not medical. It's not your wife. It's your daughter. She wants to talk to you. My daughter's name is Lucy. She was 9 years old, and she and I had a quick conversation. She said, Dad, you told me we were going to do 30 Ironmans this year. You said we were going to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. Is there any way? Can you get up? Can you walk? Just finish. And I said, sweetheart, no, I can't. And then she says, okay, Dad, can you crawl? Will you crawl and finish? And now through my intense tears, I said, sweetheart, no, I can't. And then she says, okay, Daddy, Will you cartwheel? Yeah. She said, will you cartwheel 9 miles and finish the race today? She had so much belief in conviction in her body. She thought I could cartwheel those 9 miles. My question is where's the belief and conviction on the journey you're on today? Are you looking for reasons and options to quit? She couldn't see the option to quit. It wasn't on the table. She hadn't learned yet that wasn't even an option. I told her I loved her. I said, Tyra, help me out. We've got work to do. We started to move through the night. We went from first place to last place. Hours passed. And I got to the moment where I could see it. The finish line was right there. And I remembered the conversation I had with my daughter. And I cartwheeled one time. But from that moment on, I too was filled with that same belief, that same conviction. We went on to win 2 races, placed second 5 times, smashing the Guinness World Record. Not for the record, but to set a new standard for other people to chase. Now I want to introduce you guys to a friend of mine. His name's Dayton. This kid's super cool. He was just born with a condition that's called cerebral palsy. I saw his story on YouTube. He was being told by his young friend through a mini triathlon. I found his mother's number. I called her up. I said, man, tell me, why does Dayton look so happy when he's doing a triathlon? And she said, oh my gosh, when he feels the wind in his face, it makes him feel alive. He said, is there any way, could we do an Ironman together? Does he want to be part of this world record? And so we said, I got to meet Dave for the very first time. Lake Havasu, Arizona, raced 27 of 30 in that year. Now, trust me, I was terrified. I've never pulled anybody in a race before. And his dad walks up and he throws down this $20 yellow boat from Walmart. And he says, this is what we're going to use to pull my boy. And in my head, I'm like, we're going to kill your kid today. And then his dad puts his arm around me and he says, I don't want you to worry about a thing, but Dayton might have a seizure. If he has a seizure, just keep swimming. And the gun goes off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I do. So I grab the rope, I tie it around my waist. I'm swimming as hard as I can. I'm looking back. He's Dayton, okay, what is he doing? Is he having a seizure? Every time I look back, I could see him. His eyes were closed. My son of a gun is just taking a nap. He's totally fine. But man, I was so worried about that seizure that he never happened. Do you guys know that 97% of everything we worry about never happens? Yeah, we sit in that space, and this is something we're all guilty of, and it's ruining your life and your progression. We get some information, or somebody says something to us, and then we immediately go into the future and we start creating the worst case scenario. And then we play that game of he said this and they said this, and when they said this, I'm going to do this. And then we start to spiral and isolate ourselves, turn off all the lights, and sit in darkness and isolation. It's the worst possible thing you can do. It's called catastrophizing. And if you take one thing with you today, it's this. When that's happening to you, I just want you to pause, man. I want you to pause. I want you to take a deep breath, and I want you to take out a piece of paper. And I want you to start writing down everything you're worried about, everything you're concerned about, everything that you're scared about. And then I want you to take another deep breath. And then I want you to revisit that list, and you'll start crossing out everything you can't control. I promise you, my friends, you're going to be left with one thing, and one thing only. That's where you put your focus. That's where you put your attention. That's how you're going to progress and move forward. We got out of the water in the middle of the pack. He never had that seizure. I didn't even need to put a thought to it. I needed to be prepared, but I didn't need to worry about it. We got out of the water in the middle of the pack. His dad created a special cart for Dayton. We put him in the cart. I started biking along 27 miles an hour. When I look back, what do you think I saw? Biggest smile you've ever seen in your life. And I say, yes, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. On mile 30, Dayton's cart breaks. Where it's connected to my bike, it slipped and his cart starts to shake. I go from 27 miles an hour down to 4 and giving it everything I've got. My wife, her concerned, she realized we weren't going to make the time cut off because we were taking too long. She got on her bike and came out to find us. When she found us, we were devastated. We knew we were going to run out of time. I just wanted to have this young man hear the words, you are an Iron Man. And it wasn't going to happen. And then in that moment, Sunny reaches out her hand in kindness and puts it on the back of David's cart. As soon as she touched the cart, it took away that shake. My speed doubled, my cadence picked up. I looked back at Sunny Joe. I said, sweetheart, how long can you leave your hand there? She says, if it's helping, man, as long as you need. I said, good, we need you for the next 6 hours. And she says, whatever it takes, I'm here for you guys. And for hours, we pushed and pulled Dave up and down the hills of Lake Havasu. And then the moment happened where it went dark. And the race director came out, he stops us, and he says, it's no longer safe to continue. I'm so sorry. And then in that moment, a police officer came rushing up. He rolled down his window, he turned on all of his lights and said, "Boys, follow me." I'm going to give him the chance to run the marathon. He said, "Follow the lights." I want to share with you guys a very emotional day that I got to spend with Dayton. There are many limits in life, but the only limit to achieving greatness is telling yourself no. On the surface, I was pulling game. In reality, he was pulling me. He was the moment, I was the body. Together, we were a machine. Became the hardest ride of my life. Every battle score was like climbing a mountain. I kept getting the math over and over my head. We weren't unmaking. I kept telling myself, they can't ride a bike. Not get to ride a bike today. I get to ride a bike. I looked back and I realized he wasn't going to cross the finish line unless I took the next step. It simply wasn't Laurence. Or kept telling myself, Dayton can't run, and I get to run tonight. Greatness isn't measured in hours, minutes, or seconds. It's measured in your ability to kick your limits to the curb and achieve what is possible. Thank you. Dayton can't ride a bike. I get to ride my bike today. Dayton can't run, and I get to run tonight. I kept saying that over and over in my head with appreciation. That finish line happened over a decade ago, but it's changed my life ever since. Every single morning when I wake up, I put my hand over my heart, I take a deep breath of fresh air, and I express insane amounts of gratitude. And when my feet hit the ground, I say the words, I get to do it one more time today. And I realize that nothing great is ever accomplished on our own. Man, Dayton and I, we needed each other. We needed Sonny to come out and reach out her hand, that police officer to light our way. That was Dayton's mother who ran every step of the marathon with us, and it was my two oldest girls that ran us into the finish line. It took every single one of us to put that medal around Dayton's neck, and I am so honored and privileged to have spent that day with him. It's changed my life. And that story has gone on to change so many people's lives around the world. The challenge to express gratitude, to appreciate the moments that we have. And I fully understand that we're all dealing with things at different times in our lives, the different challenges that we all experience. We all just want to wake up every single day and feel like we're enough and feel like we're contributing and believe in ourselves. You just can't see the next challenge until you're ready for it. It's why it's so important to keep showing up, to keep having experiences. Every failure I've ever had has turned into a learning experience. We learned so much from that journey. We believed that more was possible. We made the announcement, 50 Ironmans, 50 days, 50 states. I said, it's impossible, can't be done. I sat down with some doctors. I said, what do you think? They said, we think you're going to die. And so I stopped talking to doctors. I started to surround myself with people. I started to surround myself with people that had the same belief system, mindset that I had. I started to assemble my team. Well, my team ended up being my 5 young children, my wife Sunny, and 2 best friends that we now call the Wingmen, and we started on this journey. We started in Hawaii, did an Ironman, flew to Alaska, did an Ironman, flew to Washington, did an Ironman, all piled into a motorhome and started to navigate the lower 48. Ironman every single day, driving to the next day at night. Averaged 4 hours of sleep a night for 7 consecutive weeks. I had to consume 12,000 calories a day to fuel the effort. Every single day was met with chaos, confusion, new weather, new environment, new issues, new problems. But persistence and resilience only come from having been given a chance to work through difficult problems. If you are dealing with something right now in your life, be it professional, parenting, whatever it is, man, I dare say congratulations. Rock bottom is the best place I've ever been. I've hit it twice in my life in an extreme nature. I look back at those moments and I'm so grateful because this journey didn't get any easier. Your lives, this business is not going to get any easier. My goodness, you just get stronger. You become more resilient. And when you're doing something so spectacular that nobody can figure out how you're doing it, media shows up and they want to talk to you. I got really good at doing these interviews. It was day 21 in Florida. I had just crushed a brilliant interview, and my wife, as I was heading to the swim, she stops me. And she said these words. She said, James, I need you to sound more intelligent on camera. I was like, okay, all right, I thought I did a great job, maybe not. And I remembered this moment. And I promise you, moments like this in relationships and business and our teams will splinter a campaign, will splinter the chemistry between a teamwork. I went and I found the video footage of this moment. I want to share that with you guys.
Good morning, Christina. We're with James Laurence. He is the Ironcowboy. He's from Utah, and he's on Pensacola Beach to do one of his 50 Ironmans. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's so good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
And this is your 21st one, right?
Yeah, 21st and 50.
And how has it been so far?
I'm tired.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job, and it's all for a great cause, right?
I want to introduce you guys to Sunny Joe, Mama. Oh my goodness, she's not wrong. And I think, gentlemen, if you want to be married for 25 years, she's never wrong. I realized in that moment I was being so filled with anxiety and depression and confusion and fatigue, but the biggest thing I realized is I was trying to control every aspect of the campaign. I was trying to control every member of the team. And as soon as I let go of that pressure, guess what? Magic happened. Everybody else around me started to rise up and we started to gain momentum. We started to fly through. I want to share with you guys a message that I learned, that it's your reaction to adversity, not diversity itself, that determines how your life story will develop. I'm going to get some hate, a little bit of pushback, but you get to choose how you react to the things that people say to you. You get to choose how you react to the things that are happening to you. We can't always control what's happening to us, but we do get to choose how we react to it. And I promise you, if you can figure out how to do that intelligently, your life will be very different. It will be incredibly beneficial to learn this skill set. Now, I've got another clip from the documentary that's on Amazon Prime. It showcases one. Wingman number 1, Casey, gets to choose how he reacts to something I say to him. Imagine in work, in life, if the individual reacted like this, how much better the world would be. And then 2, you get a front row seat. A front row seat to the conversation I'm having with the bully inside my head. In this moment, I'm deciding whether I'm going to allow fear or my dreams to dictate my next move.
James has never been a morning person, and so then you put him in a motorhome or in a van with really crappy sleep, only grant him 4 hours, coming up on Ironman every day, and then you have to be the person to wake him up. It was traumatizing.
You have a pillow? No. Constructive criticism. That's what we're taking as. Constructive criticism. I'll show you that information. James has been incredibly depressed I could tell that he was desperate and reaching out for me to tell him, you can do this, you're gonna be okay. There's a finish line to all of this. You just gotta get through today. He wasn't uncomfortable, it wasn't just difficult, he was suffering.
Sonny's not an alcoholic, that was juice. But you can't hear it because it's in my head, but it was super loud, it was super violent. Again, it was, you're not good enough, you don't deserve to be here, you can't do this, the stress you're putting on, the impact you're not having, all of the things we tell ourselves in the peak of emotion and adversity. In that moment right there, I was negotiating with myself the bare minimum I could manage to continue forward. Nobody can convince me in their darkest moment you can't rise up and be perfect for 1 second. Just 1 second. And then you have to have the skill, the ability to stack 1 second on a time until you come out of that moment and then you gain momentum. I promise if every single one of you right now look at your history, there was moments you did not believe you would make it through. And guess what? You're here today. And because of that moment, you're stronger than you've ever been. Those moments in our lives are absolute gifts. We can't let fear dictate how we proceed. Did you know that the physical reaction to fear and excitement is exactly the same? It's how we choose to frame it in our minds. I didn't want fear to dictate how I was going to show up in my journey. But I did wake up scared every single day. But to grow, to adapt, and to evolve, we need to become uncomfortable intentionally. Only then will you meet the best version of yourselves. You hear people say that you have to choose hard. I'm here to tell you that, yes, you absolutely have to choose hard. Because if you don't, hard will choose you later in life. It's going to be hard either way. And I hope that you make the choice to make it hard intentionally now so that you can be armed for that moment when life's handing it to you, you are going to be ready to deal with it. When was the last time you intentionally became uncomfortable? When was the last time you broke down your fears to a manageable moment where you could overcome them so they were no longer controlling you? Again, I woke up scared every single day on the 50. Day number 1, I threw up violently from heat stroke. Diaphragm got stuck open, had massive acid reflux for days. No idea when this was going to stop. You can't plan for something like that. We fight for 18 days, and in Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's 106 degrees outside. I lost concentration for 2 seconds. I fell asleep while riding my bike, and I crashed. I'm laying on the side of the road, possibly broken hip. He who has the right to live can bear almost anyhow. I didn't know how, but man, did I know why. We were raising money for the childhood obesity epidemic. We're the first generation ever where the parents are slated to outlive the kids. I have 5 kids. I don't want to be part of that statistic. We put together a 5K every single night for the public to come and join and run with us. Same daughter, Lucy, now 12. She says, Dad, I know this is hard. I know you're struggling, but guess what? We can do this together. I'm going to be there every single night to run all 55Ks with you. I didn't know how, but I promise you I knew why. I had a 7 o'clock appointment with my daughter every single night. And you won't see a picture anywhere where Lucy isn't right beside me. She ended up running all 55Ks, all 56, and she doesn't even realize that she's the reason I kept showing up. If you try to help everybody else around you accomplish their goals, it's impossible for you not to accomplish yours. I was just trying to help her accomplish her goal, and I meant mine. But there's going to be a moment on your journey where you don't know if you can take the next step. Where every step you take, I'll take it off. Where every step you take, it feels like a nail gun is being driven through your foot. But I promise you, that next step's the most important step. It's the step that few people have the courage to take. And this is going to sound completely absurd, but on the other side of that step is where an Ironman a day becomes routine and normal. That is a very small percentage of people that are willing to take that step. Number 66, she was like, I just want to do 5K with Team Ironcowboy. And so she got on the start line, she got her number, and she started to run. She was quickly overwhelmed, and she had to walk. I remember seeing her because she was the very last person to cross the finish line. I went up to her and I said, congratulations, how was that? She said, that was the hardest thing I had ever done. And what she said next, I'll never forget. She said, can I do that again tomorrow? And I said, yes, you can, but we're going to be in another state. But you have to show up. When she showed up the next day, she got on the same start line. She was overwhelmed, had to walk last person to finish. I went up to her again. I said, how was it today? And she said, well, that was the hardest thing I've ever done. I'll see you tomorrow. For 5 days, she showed up to the hardest thing she could think of, trying to become a better individual. And on that last day, when she crossed the finish line, her head was up and she was proud. She was still last, but she was impacting her own life. So I went up to her and I gave her a big hug. And I said, Mom, I'm so proud of you. I know how hard that was for you. My mom has struggled with obesity in her entire life. She just wanted to run 5K with her son. My mom's hard was 5Ks. Lucy's hard was 50 5Ks. My hard was 50 Ironmans. Everybody's hard is different and it's okay. As long as you're showing up and meeting yourself where you're at today and have that drive to continue on. We're not perfect. We made mistakes, we're going to make mistakes, but adaptation is the secret to success. In fact, I believe that making mistakes is the point of life so that we learn from them, grow, adapt, and evolve. We made a mistake the day after that bike crash. We're in Mississippi trying to do another Ironman as hurricane conditions were pushed indoors. We made a mistake. We jumped on an elliptical machine to cover the last few miles of that day. And you know what? The following morning, we woke up to hatred. Keyboard warriors, online bullies telling us we cheated, quit, go home. The journey is absolutely over. We knew you couldn't do it and you just proved it to us. I almost went home. I almost abandoned the dream in the process. But I had an unbelievable team around me that encouraged me to stick around. We were doing this for a greater cause, and man, we were just doing the best we can. When it was all over, I totaled up all the miles, 7,030 miles we completed, of which that moment in Mississippi represented 0.24%. 0.24%. In life, we can do so many amazing things, accomplishments, accolades, and one thing goes sideways, and man, we give it all of our power, all of our attention. I challenge you, don't let someone else's opinion of 0.24% of your journey impact how you proceed. If you're the one in the arena with mud on your face, showing up with honesty and integrity, they don't get to have an opinion. I challenge you to focus on all the good, not the bad. Wake up every single morning and say, I am enough. I am worth it. And I get to be here today. I get to do it one more time. Now, the pandemic didn't change the world, and I looked at it as an opportunity. I wanted to learn from my mistakes. I wanted to do the 50 over again. And I was like, I don't want to do that again. That was crazy. And so I thought to myself, what if I put systems and team in place? What if I eliminated the chaos and confusion and logistics? Could I double what everybody said was impossible? Could we do 100 consecutive Ironmans, no days off? And you know what? Let's raise $250,000 to free humans that are being sex trafficked today. So my team agreed. My team agreed, and we started on March 1st, 2021. It was 18 degrees outside right here in Utah. We were biking around Utah Lake in the Rocky Mountains. I've never been so cold in my life when we started. Faced every weather system, rain, hail, sleet, snow. But I refused to do one moment outside. I remembered my past. I remembered the mistakes that I've made. I wasn't going to give away my power. By day number 5, I had an ankle injury that swelled up into my shins. 2 stress fractures. I keep fighting for 15 days. I'm out on the run course. Waiting for the step my leg was going to break. I was willing to do that. There was a moment that I lost the battle with my mind. The pressure and the pain were so great, I lost the battle. And I blocked him. And Casey, he was doing all 100 marathons with me. He catches me. And when he caught me, we were ready for that moment. When I came back to consciousness, we said 3 words and we said them together. And those 3 words were, here we go. It was a total mind and body reset. We continued down the trail until I black out again and he would catch me. Repeated that process until I crossed the finish line that night. I went home that night, had a conversation with Sunny Joe. I said, sweetheart, I can't manage that level of pain for 85 more days. And she said, sweetheart, and in her infinite wisdom, she said, I just need you to do one thing. I just need you to show up and start because we have no idea when the next miracle is going to happen. I said, okay. The following day, I found myself back on that run trail waiting for the step my leg was going to break. The gentleman pops out on the trail. He introduces himself. He says, man, you don't know me. I'm the world leading manufacturer of carbon plated shin braces. If you put these on, it'll offload your shins, give you an opportunity to heal and continue. I said, you live on the trail? I've been telling you. And the next thing he said blew my mind. He said, we're just praying you'd show up one more day. We've been getting them ready for you. And we put those on, and it offloaded my shins, allowed us to break our own world record doing 50 consecutive, resetting our history, silencing every critic, and doing it to perfection. And then every day I got to wake up and break a new world record. And then this is actual footage from day 59. We're riding the bikes. We're on the home stretch. And the team that was riding around me, that heard a loud bang. It was like an explosion. This is wingman number 2. He's my protector, and he's running back to me. And that's me laying in the middle of the road, knocked unconscious. I knew the journey was over. 59 was going to have to be good enough. Our team has what's called an ethos. An ethos is what you stand for, black and white. It's the line in sand that you're unwilling to cross. And when you're laying in the middle of the road, knocked unconscious, you cannot make the right decision. No good decision in the history of decisions has ever been made in the peak of emotion. You have to be ready for these big moments. Aaron knows my ethos. He asked me a question, James, have we finished what we started? No. They said, in the best example, you know how for your friends, your family, your community, your legacy? I said, no. He said, if we raised the 250,000 to free humans that are being sex trafficked today, I said, no. And what he said next shouldn't surprise anybody in this room. He said, get back on your bike, brother. It's time to ride. I said, yes, sir. Picked my bike up, dusted myself off, straightened the bars out, and then finished the day. Later found out that we had broken my back in that accident, cracked my L5 vertebrae, had to do 41 more Ironmans with a broken back. I do not say that for sympathy or attention. My point here is, in life, you get to choose where you put your focus and attention. I knew my suffering would end in 41 more days, but these individuals have no idea when their suffering's going to end. I could show up one more time. I could try to raise one more dollar. And then there's always that moment where you're like, it just can't get any worse than it is right now. It just can't. That had to be the peak. It can't get worse. For me, that was day 80. I showed up on day 80. I was going to get in the water. I was going to pull out my phone. I was going to be motivational on Instagram. I was going to go live on that baby and deliver the most inspirational 15-second speech you've ever heard. And when I pushed the button, I was so overwhelmed with emotion that this is all I could say. I'm going to try to breathe. I'm going to try. I'm going to try today. And I know every single one of you is woken up and first thing in the morning, like, I just can't do it anymore, man. That's it. Can't do it. You have to get up and try. You're not going to climb the whole mountain in one moment. You're not going to recruit the entire world in one session. You're not. And it's okay, but on those days you have to try. In life, we're never just standing still. We're either moving forward or we're slipping backwards. From that moment to today, we didn't raise the 250, we raised over $1 million. We're going to quit on that moment, but man, if you quit on yourself today, are you really quitting, or who are you quitting on? It's not just you, it's not the person to your left or right, it's not your family, your friends. It's the legacy that you want to leave, that ripple effect that goes generations beyond who you are today. And isn't it interesting, when I started this journey, the world record in 1 year was 20 Ironmans. I had done 80 consecutive, and when we posted that video, everybody started saying, brother, come on, you've only got 20 more to go. And I'm like, what? You said it was impossible, and I need you to show up in your life with a capacity that you're not just changing and setting a new standard. You're changing the way everybody perceives reality to be and what's possible. They went from it can't be done to, man, this guy's just, he's on his path to, you can do it, you only have 20 more to go. That's how you need to show up in your lives. And we made it to day 100, and it was electric, and it was like a decade in the making. But people came from around the world to participate and be part of that race. We got to do that bike ride, and then we got to run the final marathon. And my family, oh man, they sacrificed so much to do this together. They were waiting for me at the finish line. And this is my family. And everybody said, congratulations, job well done. Please go home. But in that moment, we made a decision. Our team made a decision that we were going to wake up the next day and we were going to do one more. I'd be a hypocrite if I got on stages around the world and I said, I get it, you're broken, you're defeated, you can get up, you can do one more if I didn't do it myself. Every single one of you is a leader. You have to be willing to show them how it's done. On a day where this pool was only filled with athletes, excitement, and adrenaline was completely empty. And I slipped in the water and I swam 2.4 miles by myself. No lights, no camera, no applause. That's the truth. Some days you got to get up and you got to do it by yourself. Those are the test days. And it's those moments stacked on top of each other, your body of work, that allows you to be a legend, to leave that ripple effect, to be sitting on the front row in these seats. It's the work that you're doing and nobody's watching. It's the effort, the results you want. You have to be willing to do that work. And I'm big on loyalty, guys. Really big on loyalty. I've been loyal to my team's been loyal to me. They saw me in the water and on my bike by myself and they said, not today. Not today, we got you. They came and found me and we did one last victory lap. We laughed, we told stories and we reminisced, and that evening we got to run the final marathon. Just my team. All for a cause so much greater than ourselves. This is my family at the end of the 50 and at the end of the 100, and it's been a gift to give my kids a front row seat to pain, suffering, sacrifice, but also love, service, teamwork. I want to share with you guys a final video as our family made our way across the country back to our home here in Utah.
I'm coming home. Tell the world that let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my kingdom awaits, and they've forgiven all mistakes. I'm coming home.
And this is my family today. There's an unbelievable saying in Utah that there's no success outside your home that'll ever compensate for failure inside your homes. I hope I'm never recognized for doing the 50, the 100, or anything that we've ever done. I want to be the hero of my home and the impact and the legacy that I've left to help people win the conversation that they're losing with themselves. I hope you've learned the lesson from Lucy with her belief, her conviction, that she thought I could cartwheel 9 miles. I hope you learned from Sunny Joe Mama, one of the greatest women in the world, who came out and reached out her hand for dating a night. Somebody in this room right now, their heart is going to be waking up tomorrow, starting their day, putting their feet on the ground and trying to say the words, I get to do it one more time today. And then the gift of the day that I got to spend with Dayton. The insane amounts of gratitude that I was able to express. It's changed my life forever, and I hope it's changed yours. My day today was to do 2 things. 1, give you hope on the journey that you're on. And 2, remove excuses that exist, because I believe that hope is life and excuses are death. You guys are all unbelievable people and can have massive impact on the world, because again, every single one of you is a leader. My name is James Laurence, the Ironcowboy. Thank you.
Okay.